Okay. Give me 1 second, everyone. Let me make sure that worked. Whew. That was some scrambling there for a second. Okay, thankfully Josh came in and fixed it like the angel he is. Let me readjust here. There's one of those OBS updates that I did not get the memo until 20 minutes ago, so now we got it. So, officially, hi everyone, I'm Timothy Von Rueden, better known as vonnart Online, and today I'll be doing kind of a free drawing. So I don't really have anything planned in mind besides I want to draw some form of like a magical witch, really embrace kind of like fantasy elements and then build it together with you guys. I pulled a bunch of reference images this morning. I kind of wanted just to have it be a really freeing live stream today and really push just like efficiency with time. So work pretty fast. So I don't really have an end goal in mind. I don't have like a set thing I need to be finished by the end of the stream, but I just want to chat with you guys and go from there. So for those of you who are new, I'm Timothy Von Rueden. You can put @vonnart in the comment or questions section. That way I can see it when I'm looking up and down from the chat to here. Oh, it's picking up the... Oh my gosh. Okay, now let's try. There we go. It wouldn't be a vonnart live stream if a few things didn't mess up during it. Clearly, even though I try so hard to be technologically just savvy, I am the most inept person when it comes to tech. Thankfully, I'm not bad with a pencil, so I feel like I can draw, and hopefully the technology will do its best to help me through. Josh, do we still get the double echo? Oh, and my tech advisor has left. Oh no. All right, you guys, this is good now? This is good? Oh my gosh, what a morning again. All right, let me restart this. Hi everyone, I'm Timothy Von Rueden, better known as vonnart Online, and today I'm going to be doing a free drawing, and if you have any comments or questions, just put @vonnart in the comments. That way I can see it when I'm going back and forth while I'm drawing. Today I'm just going to be creating something magical, and I'm going to look for your guys' input. I have some references, and we're just going to kind of go for it. So this is borderline winging it, and we'll see what we create today. And I want to state my goal, I think, with each stream. I think it's something important. I've been reading a lot about how it's important that you kind of know your mission with your art. And I think for mine, it's like to create fantastical pencil illustrations, but I want them to be full of detail to hopefully inspire others to want to do the same. So that is kind of my mission, especially with YouTube, and we do this every Wednesday. So like I said, any comments or questions, let me know, and we're going to just go for it. So officially, hi everyone. Sorry about that opening, but let's just go for it. So let me make sure I can see by camera though. I'm going to put this over here, put that there. And this we'll put right. Let's see, where do I want this? Right there. Okay. And this goes over here. Okay. So, if you have any suggestions, I'm going to keep my Discord open as well so that I can see what you guys post. But I think the theme we're going for is strong, fantastical, female type character who wields magic of some sort. What that implies or what that is exactly, I guess we'll kind of build off and discover together. But I'm just going to kind of go for it and see what happens. It's been a while since I've done something like this where I'm really just going for it. And hello everyone. Oh, hello Tijol. Yeah, normally it is a long while before I notice a tech issue being a problem, but there's always got to be something, no matter how hard I try. I think the stream gods think it's funny to mess with me, so I'm just going to lay it up to that. So I guess they got me again this week, and I'm going to do my best next week to not have that happen. We'll see. I'm sure there will be something. So how are you guys doing this lovely Wednesday? I know for Josh and I, we had this crazy last week with Amkey weekend. We had 15 artists staying here for this little anime show. It's kind of like our hometown show. And it was pretty good, but it was definitely busy. And I think that's why, for those of you who follow me on Patreon, I haven't been doing my dailies this past week because we've been so focused on just hosting so many people. So I'm going to be picking that up again tomorrow. And I'm actually really excited to get back into the routine. Because for me, I'm one of those artists who I like routine to feel like I'm accomplishing my goals. So then when I get a little separated from it, I get a little bouncy, a little fidgety, I think. Hello, Karina. Hello, hello. Hello, Nyango. Yes, hello, hello. Oh, Oscar. Hello, hello. There we go. So I'm kind of sticking to my roots of going for a profile. I feel like this is a comfort zone area for me, is to do a person in profile, or like a slightly 3/4. And I know for artists, there's certain things that you are drawn to drawing and you feel comfortable doing it. And actually, I might make this more of a true profile, because literally my last drawing, I had my last drawing over here that I'm working on, and it's literally the same 3/4 pose. I'm like, well, even though that is a comfort zone for me, let's change it up. Let's do a true profile. So when I say profile, I mean like a side view. Excuse me. So I'm going to try to keep this a little more loose to begin with, though. I think one of my other issues is when I go into a drawing like this, I want to do like heavier detailing right out the gate, and I have to teach myself to wait. Sometimes that can be difficult. I think I get so excited by the idea of rendering that I push it too early, and then I end up with like one section of a drawing super rendered and the rest so loose that I can't let it grow organically where I already rendered. So in this one, I'm going to really try to keep it light first. But I think I'm going to be going for a little bit more of like a mono reference. I feel like that's been my big influence right now. Let's play with some shapes too. Let's see here. Hello, Ruined Wonderland. Hello from Finland. What is the pencil I'm using? I am using a very chewed up Kimberly General. Not from myself, it's from my Kit Kat. He got into my pencil bag one day, and a couple of my pencils were pretty chewed up. But they still work, so I don't really mind. I feel bad for him if he got a splinter, but he seemed okay. So that's why my pencils look a little rough. But I may be switching to a mechanical pencil, and we'll kind of go from there. Krina, so glad to catch you live again, trying to make this a habit. Well, welcome again. Yeah, I'm glad to have you back. Yeah, I try to have these every Wednesday as kind of a chance for artists around the world to just come together, have a chat, and we can work together. I really want to do some kind of a bonnet, I think. I'm trying to think of what even hair would look kind of cool here. I normally do hair a little more pulled back or relaxed, but still like waving back. I might try to have this more forward. We'll see. And I think I'm going to be very okay with like changing the concept. So like, I'm not really vibing with this face or what I'm doing. We're going to just restart. And this is something I used to do all the time, and I felt so much more comfortable back in the day, like restarting. But there's been such a pressure now to keep, like everything has to be perfect. And I don't know if I gained that just from over the years and feeling this sense of obligation that I've had such a portfolio now that I should be able to do everything right from the get-go. And I don't know where that came from, but I'm definitely going to try to lose that 100%. Zay says, what are you drawing today? I don't know. I want to do some kind of a magical witch female and take it in that direction. You know what, maybe I won't do true profile. As much as I wanted to keep it in the comfort zone, I think I'm totally okay like pushing it a different direction here. Oh yes, Josh is not modding today. He will be joining us again next week. We're catching up on a lot of things, and that includes Josh catching up on some things. So thankfully, he will be joining us again next week. He'll be here for the stream though, so while he's doing his work in the other room, he'll be here. So if you see Schwa with the little wrench, that is him. He's our normal mod on these streams. Hello, Gamer Pencil from Spain. Hello, hello. And I should show you guys. One of the inspirations even for today is I got this new book from Black Gold Sun. They are an artist that I found on Instagram. I love their work so much. It's very like chaotic or controlled chaos, and the way that they control color with subject matter I find fascinating. As you can see, it's very like bold and structural while still being loose. So here is, sorry, I'm using my dollar bills from the show as bookmarks, but I love this type of a piece and this type of a mood. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to pick up on today. So this book I highly recommend. The only issue is it is kind of expensive. I think it was altogether it was like $150, but I love a good art book, and this one's definitely great in my opinion. And it was nice having these. I have like figures now, so this is Aerith from Final Fantasy VII, but it's nice having an actual model that I can kind of turn. Like even with her right now, I might use her head as like a reference. Where I know a lot of younger artists, they use 3D models and like sites with a bunch of like different 3D models on them for posing and reference, which I think is great. But I'm definitely one of those old school artists where I like a tangible presence that I can work from. And I've been really wanting a good reference kind of standing dummy for a long time. Like one of those ball jointed dolls. The really, really, really nice ones. And I still plan on getting one eventually. But for the time being, this will do. Oh, there we go. So usually when I'm doing these more loose drawings where I don't have a specific end goal in mind, I try to keep it very loose, and I have to try to not commit to almost anything, especially starting off. It's definitely some fun big hair. And you'll kind of see how my drawings tend to progress over time. Slim the neck down. So I'm thinking a lot of trinkets, a lot of little beads, kind of that energy going throughout here. Ooh, draw a moon child. I kind of like that idea. We could make her a little younger. Maybe more of like a softer contrast within the face then. And what's interesting about faces specifically, here I'll zoom in so we can get a closer look here, is especially when drawing a lot of figurative drawings. So for me, I draw a lot of obviously character art. if you can get a good face, I feel like that's a good anchor then for the rest of the drawing to build off from. And sometimes that can be, like what I was mentioning earlier, a problem because you like over rendered the face and now it can't grow organically if the story with the drawing itself is tending to grow. So I try not to landlock myself too much when I do a face, but I think since this I want to keep more as like a practice in being efficient with my time when drawing. And with live stream, I only have a set amount of time. I want to like move pretty quickly. So even though I probably normally wouldn't render a face this quickly, or I don't know if I'll fully render it, but at least kind of have the structure of it down pretty quickly. This isn't always the way that I work, but recently I've been finding that I need to allow myself some organic drawing growth because I've been so focused on the tarot cards and the Murdoch and my Aquatica Nautica upstairs that I think I forget that my true drawing style leans more into the letting it grow organically. And I don't think I've been allowing myself to do that much because of all these projects that I'm like hyper focusing on, which is still good. I think it's good for me to have this very set schedule because it's, helping me finish these projects in like a timely manner. But as an artist who leans that direction, it can be tough. Hello. Hi, everyone. Oh, hey, Ella. Ella's one of our wonderful mods as well on the Discord. Oh gosh, when you're so rich, you use money as bookmarks. I don't think this screams wealth. I don't think my crumpled dollars from a convention is like pinnacle of wealth. Oh no. Now everyone's thinking that. Let's see here. Yeah, hello everyone. Okay, so here now, I'm going to keep pushing, but if you have any ideas, like whoever suggested, who was the Moonchild suggestion? That was, oh gosh, the chat keeps jumping. Ruined Wonderland. Yeah, I'm definitely open to like hearing ideas and like implementing them together. I used to do this a lot more where I would build a character with the chat, and I haven't been doing that in a really long, or I haven't done it in a really long time, and I kind of want to do it again. So maybe that's the other reason I want to do this stream today. I think we're definitely going more villain though. Even with this face already, I feel more of a villain vibe. Oops, let me move her out here. Digital. And usually when I place my facial features, I'll draw them really light. That way if I need to do a quick eraser edit, it's pretty lenient, I would say. I think kind of giving that devilish smile that villains tend to have. Something else I've been playing with too more is letting this area of the mouth just kind of be vacant. Let it be implied and filled in. Now I love a good fashion moment when it comes to how much skin you show. I think sometimes minimal skin showing can be even more sensual or seductive than like showing a lot of skin. And I think with this type of a character, I might just show like this part of her bust. Nothing too crazy. I'm gonna be very covered up. She almost looks like she should be having like a sword in front of her. You know what I mean? Here, let me zoom out. And her other hand's just like lingering over the handle on one side. Kind of like that shape. That's pretty fun. I used to do this a lot more too with like my 30-minute warm-ups. That would be like part of my schedule is every day I would try to start with a 30-minute warm-up that had literally no purpose or end goal in mind, just to do it, essentially. And some days are a big struggle. I think it's a good challenge if you guys ever want to try it for yourself. It's a good challenge to like see what you can create in 30 minutes on a daily basis. And some days they're pretty great, where you're like, wow, I really hit a stride with this drawing. I feel the energy coming from it. And then other days you're like, am I even an artist anymore? Like, what? Who am I? I think I might make her makeup really sharp too. Or I could do one of those no eyebrows, where there's like a inclination of the shadow casted from the brow, you know? Tijol, thank God I'm a mod. People in power can do whatever they want without consequences. Yeah, that's definitely the mantra to live by. Kalov says she's a villain, but blowing a bubble with chewing gum. That'd be interesting. I mean, part of her dark powers could be rooted in like bubbles. I do love playing with magic that is borderline nonsensical and like hasn't really been seen before. So maybe we could try a lot of these like circular shapes around her. Let's see if that sticks. Because I also like the idea of letting a drawing, kind of like what you were saying, if you have like this idea, like if I was drawing by myself, I didn't have you guys with me today. If I had an idea of, like blowing bubble gum, I'll throw like the concept at the piece and see if it sticks. And if it doesn't, that's why we draw light enough where we could easily take it out if we wanted to. I mean, we could give her like I feel like a circle backdrop is always a nice, safe thing to do when it comes to kind of framing the head more. Looking for something circular in this room. Josh, if you're watching, could you grab me a bowl from the kitchen? And I'm going to do a nice little ring here. Or if you can't find a bowl, find your favorite, or just find your favorite bowl. Let's do that. And I'm going to use that to do the circle. And that way that gives me kind of a backdrop then to place her on. Era says, maybe a sigil tattoo of some kind, a visual mark of wicked kind, if like the devil's mark thing. We can definitely do some like fun. Sometimes I like minimal mark making, or like makeup or tattoo, like very minimal, but there's such strength in its minimalness, where like these two dots just above the eyebrow line, I think can be very powerful just on their own. So yeah, maybe that. Or I feel like dots are they're very, very, very overwhelmingly done. Maybe like lines? Let me move in. So I don't want it to necessarily look like scratches, but maybe we'll come back to the sigils on the forehead. But I do like the idea of that.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Oh, thank you.
Is that too big? I mean, I love the little Christmas bowls.
So this is the beautiful art tool we'll be working with today.
Oh my god, it's like actually
it's like perfect.
Yeah. All right, well, enjoy the bowl. Do you want me to take it back?
No, just in case I need to move it.
All right.
Thank you, though. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Mwah.
Yes, Josh will be joining us then again next week for sure.
I'll be back.
So with this circle in place now, it becomes easier for my mind to kind of see where we could branch this. Because I could even fill this entire circle with like ornamentation or decoration and then keep the outside of it blank, and it would be a nice visual kind of contrast, and it has a strength to it as well. Let's see here. Fuzz Buns says, hello, maybe you could incorporate a little bit of horror into your fantastical drawing, just an idea to play with. You know, I literally, as I was picking references this morning, I almost picked one where her face, I mean, I've done this before where this face is split open in the middle, and I feel like this is something that I see a lot of artists do now, where it's like face being split in different ways. So I would love to do another like skeleton-y borderline horror incorporation. I usually save more of it for the October months, kind of fit it with Halloween more, but yeah, maybe this is much more of a wicked witch here. Maybe this is a mask. Maybe there's something more horrifying underneath. Yeah, keep throwing things at me. I kind of like this. Eris, on today's episode of What Would Timothy Do Without Josh? Bowl grabbing. Digital says, what if the hair is made out of bubbles and made it look like finger waves in old Hollywood style? Oof. I could definitely incorporate, I love the idea of incorporating swirls and curls within the hair. Maybe if I did, what if the back hair was like a giant double bun? I mean, this is where a lot of the fun can come in these kind of free organic drawings, where since there is no end goal in mind, you literally could take it in any direction you want. I think I do want to show the ear. I'm going to see. I'm going to block it out and see if... No, I think I liked it better without the ear showing. I think I'm making the neck too narrow as well. Yeah, I'm taking Josh's favorite bowl and basically just ruining her right away. I feel like the more that I work on a drawing too, usually as their personality starts to speak to me, that's where I'll really start kind of pushing the facial features a bit more, because then I feel like you can get a lot of emotion within the face, and then it can really give you hints as to what this type of a character would wear around her outfit. Yeah, I kind of like where that's going. I know something that's tricky for me too is not letting the outline not letting it kind of disappear. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad habit, but I like to do a hard edge outline on a lot of things in my art, where sometimes I think it does add and it helps separate form, but other times I'm like, man, I wish I would just be comfortable letting the line kind of fade or just let it disappear. Not always the case, but sometimes. Ooh, I almost want to pull the hair back. Create kind of this crazy, intricate. Or maybe have like one come out of that circle. And you have to be careful when adding horns to a female character like this, because I think if I added something like this, almost immediately it kind of reads as like Maleficent. And I'm not saying that you can't add horns like that, but I'm definitely very conscious now of when I do add horns that it could visually look a little too Maleficent-y. Which, if that's not the goal of that drawing, you know, that can be a problem. Just be aware that, you know, certain elements that you may add will remind people of other things. And if I posted it with those horns, I'd have to be okay with on Instagram, be like, oh, this looks like Maleficent concept art. Oh, have you ever seen Maleficent? Wow, this really reminds me of Maleficent. So you have to be careful with a kind of recognizable inclusions like that. I don't know if I like her eye looking directly at the camera. Slightly stronger nose there. Nyango says she's giving me an Asian vibe. How about drawing her like face and eyes like an Asian woman? I can definitely do that. Because I definitely get very narrow eyes here that I think I would want to keep playing with. Maybe a long cat eye. Oh, we got something going here. I don't know who she is, but she's arriving. Light says the Joker-like figure you did was pretty spooky. Which Joker-like one? I feel like I do so many, it's hard for me to know which one you might be talking about. Light says, wouldn't want to run into it scrolling Instagram at 4 a.m. Rueden Wonderson, those lines on her forehead gave me an idea of tiny little horns. I could definitely play with like smaller horns, I think. Because this also might run into a little bit of a Dia from Final Fantasy VIII, which I gotta be a little careful about as well. I think because I have such a reference pool of things that I really enjoy that are also in the fantasy realm, I want to make sure that it doesn't look like I'm just stealing, you know, the same look and then trying to pretend like it's my own. So I think if I did horns, which I do think I might, maybe if I made them like straight up. I mean, if you guys have any suggestions, where's my Discord? So on the Discord that you can join, there is a room called Stream Follow Along. Oh, you guys are already posting. Look at that. Oh, Oscar. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, definitely with like some fun fabric layers. See, and sometimes I need to allow myself to do these kind of more gestural lines. I think I've been so tight with my drawing prowess lately that I haven't been as free with things. Oh, there we go. Oop, lost the chat there for a second. Yeah, thank you, Oscar, for posting those. I mean, if she's gripping the sword, maybe a sword isn't the right tool for her. I mean, maybe like an instrument? Or maybe what if I make it like a staff of some kind? I mean, we're definitely leaning super fantasy for doing like a staff, but I think I'd be okay with that. Or what if I show, I think I want to show more of the shoulder here. As much as I love that shape kind of cutting through, I think I would love it even more if we saw more of that shoulder. Because I love when, I think this was more of an Eastern way of doing fantasy concept art for video games, where the character was very like blank within the texture of like their skin and the way they shade it, but then the area around them would be like crazy and the details would be like heavily emphasized, where in Western culture we tend to keep the wardrobes on fantasy characters like more simple. Think like the difference between like a Final Fantasy boss and like a Game of Thrones bad guy, like very different ways of conceptualizing. And even though I like both, don't get me wrong, I like both, but I think I lean towards the Eastern style a bit more, just because there is this kind of crazy fantastical sense where it does bleed into nonsensical, which I kind of love that type of design. I can also hate it. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of like Bayonetta, for instance. Her design's a little too kooky for me, but I tend to lean that direction. Corinna says maybe one horn like small and broken and the other large and elaborate, twisted and stuff. I mean, we could take. Hold on, let me see what that would look like if we like really try to push some horns on this gal. What if we did like horns straight out like that? And maybe we put her hair in a back bun. Maybe keep these front ones as well. See what I mean with drawings like this? You can really just have fun experimenting and then pulling what works. Keeping what works and then pulling what doesn't. And I really like throwing shapes throughout. I don't know if I like these lines as much as I used to. Maybe I feel like I do a lot of this type of connecting. I love connecting the eyebrow arch line, and I'm not sure why. I feel like that's something I should explore someday. But I really love when there's like a shadow or a form that connects those. And then I do like a good like sculptural helmet type piece that integrates with the hair itself. And then definitely like a good contrast can imply different shapes that can push or pull the direction you're already thinking, which can be really fun for me too. I always love a good neutral lip where it's more of whatever skin color the character is. But then for some characters, I like doing the complete opposite. And I know it's grayscale, but I can usually see it sometimes in color. It's like a good plum color lip. I think it's very powerful. When a lot of the skin around it's very fair. And I'm kind of getting that vibe for this character right now. Oh no, now I really am going Adia from Final Fantasy VIII. Maybe I'll keep it more of a light lip. Because when you do this kind of helmety style witch character, you definitely run the line for that. Like I said, a lot of it is just because I'm familiar with it. Like a lot of you guys might not even know what Final Fantasy VIII is, or let alone the character witch from it. But since I'm aware of it, I feel like I don't want to heavily rely on that internal reference too much, where I'll like purposely then make decisions of like pushing it other directions. This other eye's way too high. I think we gotta bring that down. Oops, looking a little crazy for a second. Actually, maybe I will open her eye just a bit more. And it's kind of fun bouncing a little bit between the drawing, like all around, because part of my organic process is if I really like the change of a direction with the piece, like if it went from like a more villain to hero character, that might change up how I want to even draw the face. But if the face is so concrete solid that it's like unerasable at that point, then I feel like I've messed up because then I'm doing a disservice to the piece because I can't kind of change it to what I think would better the piece, because now I'm like stuck with whatever is on the paper already. Give them some little hair curls coming out. Let's see here. Whoop. Hey Felix, how are you doing? Where was I? Oh no, where was I? Yango says, if you listen to all of us, the piece will be a big mess at the end of the stream. Thankfully, I like that it's like incorporating suggestions and not just like for sure putting everything in that is suggested. I'm a big fan of like light rendering on skin right now. So almost like minimal. So it's like almost negative space. And this could be the same with dark skin characters too, where the area around it's much lighter in contrast and the skin is like more of a dark, flat, matte value. Ruin Wonderland says the hair could be wrapped around the horns or on the side of the head. I do love a good hair wrap on horns. Probably not a sentence that people say often, but when you have good swirls, actually, we could even try that right now. Hold on. Right, and especially when they have like little dangle things coming off of it. That's always fun. I feel like this to me is fantasy classic 101 that I sign up for. I'm definitely a fan. And when I see artists do it like really cleverly or in a way that is kind of fresh, it's really refreshing because it's like taking something that's very classic and making it their own, which is not always easy. Oscar says, Felix says, they don't have ridiculous shoulder pauldrons that do nothing or scantily clad female warriors. Oh, yes. Oh, because you're saying Lord of the Rings walks this fine line where they wanted to be historical, but they have some pretty fantasy designs. I definitely put Lord of the Rings in like high fantasy, which is very classic, like dragon, elf, dwarfs. You're not going to see anything too elaborate or conceptual in its design. It's very much literal and practical. I think practical would probably be the best way to describe it. Where you look at other things then, such as obviously Final Fantasy, but even with like newer stuff like Dark Souls or the new Elden Ring, I feel like the designs can get way more crazy, and it still fits the world. It still fits fantasy, and those are always fun. But I like both. I do like both. Oscar says, I like fantasy that's very mystical, where magic isn't accepted as part of the universe. The uncanny, something is off kind of vibe. Yeah, I think the movie that really inspired me when it came to magic was Spirited Away, because there's obviously a lot of magic within the world, but it's very undefined. And I think when it happens, they don't explain exactly what it does, and they very much leave it up to the viewer to kind of interpret what the hell they just saw, which I think can be a lot of fun, honestly. Let me see if I like a good shape coming in and kind of cutting across the neck. So you have to be careful when you add, because I don't know if I dig that, but when you add shapes on top of shapes like that, it changes the way that you look at it. Like right now, this shoulder, actually I might even make this a bit sharper. There's this very sharpness with the shape right now, which I really dig. And I don't want to lose that by throwing a bunch of trinkets in front. Still could change. I'm not settling on anything yet. Ella says maybe it would be fun to incorporate some mimicry, like false eyes, which is often spotted on butterflies and moths. Ooh. I mean, yes. I could give her more of like a coat that has that. Let's see, where are your hands going? Oh, well, thank you. Oh, sorry, I just missed to subscribe, but thank you so much. I forgot I have my music off on my computer, so I wasn't hearing any of those. So thank you, thank you. So like even if I add like a little chain or something, see how that kind of changes the feeling there? Not necessarily bad. And actually, maybe I don't hate that. I don't think I like that line, though. Because sometimes I think I can overwrap a character in my work because I get so lost in like wanting to add more and more and more. But sometimes it's like the simplicity can really do wonders. Or even like, here, wait, let me show you another example. Give her a tight turtleneck here. Like a really thin one. And like a little chain. I don't know if I like that. But I kind of like the single cut. There's something here. I'm trying to find it. There's something I like. You guys kind of seeing what I'm seeing? I don't want it to give off. I feel like sometimes a high turtle that's tight like this can sometimes give off Elsa vibes, which I don't want that. As much as I think there could be something with that, I'm not seeing it with that outfit. See, another reason why it's good to keep it light is then you can redo. Try again. Let's see here. Felix says, I like urban fantasy that is in some way connected to the real world. A lot of people try this Lord of the Rings high fantasy that's completely disconnected from the real world, but typically that is just way too much. background info to not become boring or too out there. Can be. I mean, I tend to lean into like liking the crazy out there stuff, but I can see why that could also become a little like irrelevant, where it doesn't really add anything to the story. It's just crazy for the sake of being like crazy detailed. I think I might make her neck a little bigger though. Then whenever there's an area where I'm not too sure, I just commit to the idea that I'll come back, and then I'll probably have a better pair of eyes to look at it then. Because with everything in art, it tends to be more of a journey, at least for me. I think I could easily just whip out a pretty female with like flowers around her every time and like do well. And we see artists that kind of follow that path where they're just kind of producing the same thing over and over. And I tend to get into those traps from time to time. And then I'll like take a step back from my work and be like, oh, I've been drawing a lot of same. And then I'll try to like push it in a totally new direction with my next piece. And that's where, what was I working on last year, where it was like crazy like this, where, and you can see I'm already getting into like a darker pencil here, but I just want to do something that it's not so typical. And I really wanted to put just like elaborateness, and it's kind of the like designing to death, and that's kind of like the concept behind this one. And then this one, it is still a little bit more in the safe realm because it's still like a pretty female face, even if she's more of a witch, doesn't matter. But sometimes you just need these comfort drawings where you feel confident going into it, and it's like exploring more of like the shapes and the idea around the character rather than the character themselves, if that makes sense. And who knows, I could just completely scrap this at the end of the day's stream, but I'm glad that I was able to explore this with you guys and see what comes out. Because either way, I think doing art when you kind of have a goal in mind, and so like one goals that are freeing of like your limitations that we tend to put on ourselves. So for me, this is a very freeing experience right now doing this. And it might not be anything groundbreaking. It's, you know, I'm not like reinventing the wheel or anything here, but it's very freeing in a sense of I don't feel obligated to force it into a one way or the other. Let's see here. Felix says, I feel like the neck area should be a visual resting place. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Like have it be very crazy everywhere else, and then when you get to her neckline, it's just a very calm neutrality compared to like all the chaos that's around her, which I've always been a fan of that kind of design too, where you're very aware of the amount of detail that is being put into things everywhere, being very aware that like in this, the neck is definitely a good visual aid to kind of ground the viewer into where they're looking. Oscar says, yeah, for me, limitations raises the stakes. Even though Final Fantasy can have some extremely cool designs, they are sometimes also completely outrageous, ridiculous. So for me, realism and foundation plus tweak equals yes. Which, like I said, I do like that as well. I tend to lean towards like love and the crazy designs. I think one of my favorites in like the last 10 years was, if you guys remember Final Fantasy 13, there was a character called Vanille, and I loved her design so much. Her as a character was interesting, not my favorite, but I think her design I think is so great. And then her weapon was like a weird fishing rod tool, and it was so different and it was so creative. It wasn't just the standard like sword or magic or staff or like knife or whatever. and I applaud Tetsuya on those designs. The game is, you know, an interesting talking point for sure, but if there's something that I can't knock Tetsuya for, or just Final Fantasy and the game design in general, is I love their designs that they create, except for Final Fantasy 15. That roots more in like the Western design where it's very like practical, but also just like solid black everywhere with like minimal design elements. I'm definitely not a fan of. I would take the Final Fantasy roster level of character design over like a Final Fantasy 15 any day. I'm trying to see if I like those little fans. Hi everyone. Vampy Moon, wait, you drew that? Sheesh, you're good. Thank you. I mean, for me, this is still like a more of like a warm up type drawing in the sense that I'll be doing more of my freelance work tonight that I have to get done. So I wanted something to get me more loose, and uh, this is a very freeing experience doing a drawing that has no like real end goal in mind. So yeah, this started from scrap at the beginning. I feel like I should do more of these though, because I do tend to notice people like, or I feel like you guys tend to like these type of streams where it's kind of like we're drawing something together, it's suggesting ideas, and we're talking about what we like in design, what we don't like. This is fun. I feel like it goes to the root of like building your taste as an artist, and I'm kind of displaying where your strengths are. So yeah, these are fun. So let me know if you want to see more of these in the future. Let's see here. Felix says, I love that skeleton piece. Reminds me of Catatomb Saints in Bavaria? The skeleton piece. Which one are you talking about? Is it something I did or is it something that was posted? Might have to let me know. Did I bite the pencil? No, this is from my cat, Casper. He is a little spitfire. I love him so much. Era says, this year I'm forcing myself out of uncomfortable because it turned more into assignation, so bodies and backgrounds abound. Yeah, it's okay to have. I mean, I've definitely looked back in hindsight and been like, okay, this year clearly was like my year of growth, we'll say, where I look at what I did and I'm not crazy fond of anything that much. But I can see where I was able to make strides maybe in my personal growth. And then the next year I was really able to implement that into then my drawing growth. So sometimes take like an off year as, well, especially if you can like see it, you know what I mean? What's the word? Like where you can recognize that your art has become kind of stale. See that as such a gift, because I think a lot of artists, not a lot maybe, but there's some artists I know that they can't tell that their work has become kind of stale or kind of just forced repeating. And like I said, I get into this a lot too with my own work where I'm like, oh, okay, Tim, like time to spice it up. And I think it's really good when you become self-aware of it, because then you're able to make it better. You're able to like change it. So I'm glad to hear that you found that for yourself. There we go. Frida New Stuff says, first time watching your video, very cool drawing. Thank you. Yeah, she's been a pleasure to work on. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the headpiece up here, but I do like the silhouette I think it's giving. I think I might keep this craziness confined. Yeah, I don't know exactly what I want to do with this circle backdrop. Maybe play with like bolder, big shapes. Oh, well, thank you, Leading In, for subscribing. And I definitely like a treasure trove of like things all put on a character. I know this is probably the total opposite of what Oscar is like saying. He's probably like cringing right now watching this, but I love like the amalgamation of all these like things kind of mashed together on her head that she just carries around with her so proudly, as if like it's weightless. She doesn't even feel it. And then sometimes I'll leave like this area here. I might leave more blank and just let the viewer kind of fill it in, what exactly that shape is supposed to represent. Should I do a nice dark pupil there? There we go. Ruin Wonderland. Oh, hey, Tefalina. Sorry I'm late. Oh, no worries at all. You still got another hour, so you're good. You get to see some of the creation of this, whatever this is. I feel like I really want to do more of these on the live stream, to be honest. This has been really nice working with you guys right now. I mean, I'm telling you, my recent drawings have felt very slow and very like they have to meet a certain standard. So doing a drawing like this where I'm like, blah, 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 you know, and doesn't mean that it always comes out. I don't want people to get the wrong impression that I don't just go into a drawing being like, okay, I'm just going to throw up whatever happens on the paper and see how it lands. There are times where I'll do this type of an exercise where I'm like, okay, just focus on moving fast and not getting too, you know, zoomed in anywhere, and they turn out terrible, you know. I feel like it's the risk you sometimes take when kind of exploring shape and design, and sometimes it works really well. So I feel like this might be one of those times where I feel pretty good about it. Oh, you know what? I might... Should I do like a sharper point here? I feel like it's rare for me to do like a point of some kind. I don't know if I like it crossing into the circle on the top. Where was I? Oh, thank you, everyone. Yango says, oh, so this is his warm-up drawing. Yes, I want to see more of this, please. You know what? Maybe I will. Because I think sometimes the live streams where I'm like just showing a rendering of a part, like if I was showing my new drawing that I'm doing right now, and it's like hyper rendering these type of areas, I don't know how entertaining that is to watch. I know like sometimes it can be fun to watch an artist like do just a section of a drawing, but since I tend to like really get in there and focus on the details, it can be a bit slow. So with this, it's definitely way more fast, and I think seeing more of a cool started with nothing, and then at the end, that's where we got. I think those are fun videos to watch. Personally, that's what I think. What if I did a double ring? Double rainbow? Do we like that? I'm kind of feeling that. Let's see here. I love your interview with Danny Diaz. He is so good. If you guys don't know who Danny Diaz is as an artist, please go check him out. He is an amazing artist. I really want him to make his own game. If you go and follow him on Instagram, please tell him Vonnart says to make a video game. I've been trying to push that agenda for him because I think he could make such a cool, like modern fantasy game that would just be so good. So I'm glad you liked his interview of him because I think he is just fantastic, just absolutely fantastic. I don't like double rainbow. I was just looking at it on the mini cam. I was like, it was too much. Yeah, I like the single. Let's see here. Where was I? Felix says that drawing you showed briefly with the skeleton head and oh yeah, Tim, duh, yeah, this one. Yeah, I love what's going on up here. I don't know exactly what I'm doing down here because I'm running out of paper. It ends right here. So I think I might have to do him sitting. Initially, he was going to be like a Digimon proportion where it's like really big torso with like super long arms. But I think now he'd look kind of silly. And I like the idea of like putting him into the seated pose on a throne that's like equally decadent and over the top. Well, thank you, Shota, for subscribing. And I think this kind of describes how I feel sometimes, where it's like detailing to death and then like sitting on this throne of detail, but you died from it. So I think that's kind of this underlying message I'm going with that drawing. Where with this one, it's literally just like a fun female sorcerer of sorts. Got their little circles everywhere. Let those random beads do as they will. I guess I could darken some of the face for you guys for this 45, because I got like 45 minutes left. Or you know what? No, I'm just gonna keep designing, because I feel like I kind of like how the stream's going, where it's like really pushing design elements. You know what? I don't like that one as much. And this is why I try to work with an H or a 2H, because then I can erase it if I need to. I love a good fingerless glove, or like where some of the fingers have the glove, but not all of it. Sometimes I just need to like see how the arm will bend and turn. There we go. So normally I would even take a reference picture of myself really quick, just doing the pose so I can see where the proportions lie. Teflina says, sorry for going off topic, but how was the weekend with your friends that aren't used to winter weather? Yeah, a lot of my friends tend to be across the country, so the ones that were in Cali, or that live in Cali, or the warmer weather, yeah, that could be a shock. But I feel like since they've done it before, it's just like that gentle, cold reminder of what, people that live in colder climates have to live with every winter. You know what? I don't even think I want her arm to be shown. I think I want like a big, like a heavy coat that's like off the shoulder. She's just like carrying barely. Something else I used to do, I think, more was letting some of these free lines dictate the shape. Let me pull up a little bit. So I feel like that's something I've definitely lost, is just allowing, like, what's that called? Elbow drawing? The thing you're supposed to do that for some reason I'm like defiant for no reason on doing. Let's do like a hand peeking out of like this super heavy coat. Like that. Christina Poe1, thank you so much for subscribing. And if you guys like what these live streams kind of are, there's the YouTube membership that you can join as well. It's I think $2 a month, but you get access to the exclusive emojis. And then eventually, once I get done with my Murdeck, I plan on doing the member, what are those called? Critique streams. And then any of my YouTube member followers here on YouTube, I'll do like a live 10-minute critique of their piece, and I'll do probably 10 to 12 of them. So yeah, if that's something that interests you, I will probably do that sometime in the spring. And then I want to do that consecutively throughout the year then. But since I'm kind of refining my pace with YouTube again, I don't want to just slam everything all at once. I feel like this should be fabric of some kind. Oops. I think I make this shawl much darker. Something else I tend to struggle with is pushing like really dark values. I think part of it is because I draw so light, but I think the other part is I work with light pencils. So like my H pencils don't tend to get that dark, and I need to push some of those darker values like almost intentionally if I really want it to get darker. And then sometimes I'll literally lay value heavy even when like the form isn't complete yet, because it helps me break up the shapes in the composition then where I can see it better. Actually, I kind of like this rounded rectangle curtain shawl thing. Maybe not. I was feeling it for a second. I was like, no. I felt too structural. Let's see here. Oscar says, haha, I don't dislike it. It's just a matter of accepting, getting an idea of limits, laws of reality. Also, consistency and feeling like it belongs or fits in that universe. Oh, totally agree. I think if, like, the world allows, like, nonsensical wardrobe, I feel like you can kind of get away with almost anything you want. Like, my friend Sean, he was here this weekend. He showed me the trailer for Elden Ring, and one of the bosses was, like, this multiple-limbed necromancer looking character that would just attach dead body parts to his body, and he was like this crazy big thing with like multiple arms and weapons and things. And it makes sense in that world. I don't think it would make sense in Lord of the Rings per se. It possibly could, but I don't think it would work as well as just like a game like that. So I agree. I think a lot of it depends on the context of the world that they fit in, where I think it's very easy then to forgive crazy design if it meshes with that world. Alvin says, hello there, Lurk. How do you do the details, just like Final Fantasy? I love Final Fantasy games, so I'm sure there's a lot of subconscious pulling from references coming out right now. But I'm a huge fan of Amano and Muka and artists that like really push a lot of intricacies within their creations. And I think that's something that I've just naturally pulled into my own work over time. And I think that's something that as you do your work, you learn about yourself of like, okay, clearly I like this about design. And I think it's good to be aware of that, kind of like we were talking about earlier, being aware of your work and where it sits. Oh, I do not like that. There we go. I feel like these should be longer, so you guys can see it. There we go. Sarah says, why we use the circles. Are you talking about like the backdrop? I mean, this definitely grounds the piece. I think without the circle, it may look a little messy, possibly. Actually, I didn't even hate how that looked without the circle. You know what? Maybe I will take the circle out. Let me just see what that would look like. Because I do feel like sometimes a circle can be, well, maybe I'll like keep it really light, and I'll keep it only if I feel like it really adds anything to the piece. Or maybe I could do like a design off of it. Like maybe like a flowy. Let me see if this looks good or not. Sometimes I just need to visually see it rather than talk it out in my head. Because sometimes when you talk in your head of if an idea will work or not, you can easily talk yourself out of an idea that might be a really good idea. So let me know if you feel like this is even working. I might do like these, not quite like a sun necessarily, but definitely like a fabric-y, kind of looser. Like maybe if this actually, hold on. This is another one of those times where I'm like, rather than just telling you guys, maybe I'll just show and see what you guys think. I don't know if I'm digging that. I'm not feeling that too much. Let's see here. Ash says, in my pencil drawings, when shading, I feel like I render too dark and everything just looks jumbled together. Any tips on how to avoid getting it too dark in the rendering stages? Love your art. Well, thank you so much. And in terms of rendering your art too dark, I think a lot of it has to be with like restraint. So even here, let me pull up my darker pencil. I'll do some of the face so you can kind of see it. Oh no, where are my HBs? Oh no. Oh gosh, am I gonna have to switch to a 2B right out the gate? All right, let me sharpen it really quick. It's gonna get really loud for a second. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry. All right, there we go. Okay, so what I mean by restraint. Now, mind you, I normally wouldn't even pull out a darker pencil at this stage in the drawing, but I'm doing this just for an example. So I know wherever I lay this down, it'll really push value. So I usually like to push it in edges that they give off like an occlusion shadow vibe, or really will up the contrast between the values. So I know like under this fanny looking thing, I'm gonna push like really dark. See how dark that can get really quickly? So this is something that I have to be very careful with. And especially in places where I still might need to erase, because if you push too dark with a darker pencil and you don't know if that is going to look good and you want to change it later, there's a good chance that that is pretty set into the paper at that point. So even like right now, even though I know I want a little bit of a shadow under the neck, I'm not going to do it with my darker pencil, because that would make this area really, really dark. And I'm not sure if I want to push a lot of darkness under the neck. But like edging out some of the headpiece here, I can make this a bit darker. And I'll go very slow. So with darkening edges, I try to be cautious almost the entire time. So like let's say we know for sure we want, let me see how our face looks from straight up or down. So I can already tell the nose is a little crooked, because when I'm drawing on live streams, oh, thank you, Aiden, for subscribing. Thank you. I'm drawing usually at an angle so the camera doesn't get in the way. And I can see if I'm looking straight down, I feel like this should be a bit sharper. So I'm not going to render the nose out per se right now, because I want to edit some of that. But I do feel pretty good about this eye. So let me show you the eye. So I know that I want, let me zoom in for you guys. So I know I want the area around the eye, like a very nice dark eye-lined eye. And the area within the eye, I tend to keep very light. I almost like this ghostly appeal to the way that I draw eyes, where I don't give a very harsh iris or pupil. Instead, I kind of let it be a little more ghostly. So like you can tell there's an eye in there, but I mean, that sounds very weird, but I do like to keep it very light. And then the eyebrow, sometimes I go more stylized, where I won't do like a natural looking hair eyebrow, where I'll be like shapular. But in this case, we can keep it. Actually, I might do like a double eyebrow line, like on both sides, like that. But see how much darker that gets it, like right away? And it can make the area around the face look weird if you don't kind of bring that throughout. So I guess my advice to you would be go maybe a little slower when you do the darker areas, and try working with lighter pencils for longer. And that way the lighter pencils can provide like a nice foundation for you to build up these darker pencils on top of. Because I know I try to be very, very careful when I get to this stage of the drawing. So yeah, you can kind of see even with like the areas that I've just added versus like the value of what it was before. And then sometimes with even line art, I'll try not to do like a hard edge everywhere to separate form. like even here, I might add, little trinkets of hard edge. But then the rest of it, I'll let it just kind of blend a little more into the backdrop. I think if everything's too perfect looking everywhere, it can take away from like the fantasticalness of it all. But I'm definitely someone who tends to over render. So I've definitely been caught in that, place where I wish I would have just stopped like just a hair sooner. You know what? I don't know if I like the bead there anymore. I thought it was like a nice resting point, but I don't know if I'm crazy about it right now. Sorry, I got so distracted with that for a second. Where was I last? Yes, please put at vonnart before the questions, because when I'm looking up now, I think there's so many. I'm just looking for the orange highlighted vonnart. Vampy says, "You're so good. Can you do like art tips, please?" Yeah. I honestly, if there's any specific ones you want me to share, I am more than happy to. Because I think if I give more vague ones, I can just ramble for a long time. I don't know if I'll answer any ones that you might have. So try to be specific with the question, and I think that'll help me out in being able to answer it for you. Let's see here. Jens, hello, I am being very late. Well, hello, Jens, and that is okay. Jen says, are we discussing the new Lord of the Rings TV series? Not yet, and I didn't watch the trailer for it because I'm pretty excited to watch it. But I'm definitely one of those people who I try to stay away from spoilers at all costs, and that includes trailers. I just know I'm excited to watch it, though. Jim says, hi, Tim. Could you talk a bit about where you see the current state of conventions? I'm aching to get back into cons, but I don't see many updates for so many. Like whatever happened to Fantastic or Spectrum, basically. Yeah, Spectrum, I think, may have died. And it's really sad for me because that was my favorite con. It was a very heavy focused on fantasy art, and it had some of my favorite artists from around the world come in, and it's really sad. Very, very sensitive subject for me to talk about. But cons are actually doing pretty good. I would say last August, there was this really weird rush that a lot of me and my friends experienced at DragonCon and at Gen Con, and then some of the cons in August that tend to be smaller ones like Indie PopCon and Indiana Comic Con, but they had this really good return on financial gain. And I don't know if that's because people were ready to get back into cons. Oh, well, thank you, Sierra, for subscribing. Thank you so much. But I broke my record at one of the shows, and that was crazy. I was expecting getting back to cons to be like a very slow build-up. But I think now we're kind of hitting that slow build-up. So like we did Amkey over the weekend. I pretty much did the same that I did in 2019. And Josh and I have been talking about like what we can change, what we can do better. But I think now we're hitting a little bit more of that weird pocket that we were initially expecting. But I would say, yeah, sign up for them. If you're comfortable going to shows and you want to get into it, don't wait, because the competition's only going to get harder and harder, especially as more people are coming out of their house more. Let's see here. Oscar says, by the way, I'm curious, is there anything that you wish you were better at? Like, is there something you lack that you feel limits what you would like to create? I mean, environments, but I definitely think when I do my swordplay book, I'm going to force myself to get good at environments. I think a lot of getting good at something, there's just like a confidence that you have to have behind it. So if you go into it being like, I'm going to learn how to do this and I'm going to do it well, even if in hindsight it didn't look that good, I think having that attitude can help manifest your skill level faster. Thank you, Duzin Korolija. I'm sorry if I butcher these names, but thank you for subscribing. So I would say environments, and then hard surface things. So like spaceships, vehicles, anything where it's a lot of like hard edge. I'm not a huge fan, but if we're talking more like mediums, I would love to get better with stained glass. And that's something that I've been telling Josh for a while. It doesn't make sense for the schedule I have right now to like really dive into stained glass. But one day I would really like to. but I don't want to over talk about it because then I think there will be this level of expectation. So I'm keeping that more on the DL, more on like the in the future post-it note. Elena says, really late to this convo was lurking, but just wanted to say these are my favorite streams. I like them all, but this concepting type stream is my favorite. I don't like seeing just rendering. I think so too. I think I might do more of these because I think they're good for me mentally as an artist. Because I think there's a lot of pressure, especially, I mean, there's a lot of like self-given pressure, but I think it's pressure nonetheless, where I feel like I have to show this beautiful creation when I do live streams, because I've been doing this for so long, and I have, I'm not a crazy big Instagram following compared to like Loesch or some of the other ones, but enough where I feel the sense of pressure to perform well every time. And I think when I do the rendering streams, it's almost like a safeguard because I know even if I don't get a lot done, at least what I do get done will be, pretty and have a nice result. But this has been really nice today. So thank you guys for joining me on this, especially when I had the weird start. But this has been really nice. Thank you guys. Let's see here. And then don't forget to put @vonnart before your comment or question because I see some when I look up. But I'm looking for the highlight so that I can answer it or ask it really quickly. But I do see one from Silverman that says, have I done speed challenge drawings? Not in the traditional sense, I guess, but I have done actual life drawing classes where if you think about it, it is kind of a speed test because they'll be like, okay, you got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour, and they're very like regimented time schedules that you have to create a whole thing in that amount of time. So that's probably the closest I've ever been to. And when I did Drawloween in 2016, it was a long time ago. It was a different drawing every day, and I actually was true to it where I didn't start before October. I actually waited, and I did a drawing every single day, and that was the only 30-day challenge I fully finished without starting early, and that was crazy difficult for someone like myself who I'm not a perfectionist per se, but I do like a certain level of quality to be presented when I create. And I felt like there was a lot of days that I was forcing myself to post something that I felt had still a few hours that it needed just to be elevated. But I think it helped me recognize a lot about myself as an artist and kind of as a person, honestly. In that I can work faster than I give myself credit for, but it's usually myself holding myself back and thinking that, drawings have to take way longer and, the conception has to be a certain way. And I think Drawloween, which now I run Drawtober, but a lot of that I start beforehand to save myself the pressure from that. But if you guys ever get a chance to put yourself in a situation where you can do one of those, I would definitely do it because even if they're not great pieces, I think you learn a lot about yourself in the process. And I think that's why even something like Inktober is still popular years later, because I think it really does have those learning tools that are given to artists that actually like go for it. You guys are great. Tishel says, what about something completely out of the box, like divider in half, one dark skin half with different type of eye, etc., and one light skin half, so like a split face, just a random thought. Like on this one, I mean, I think this one I feel pretty good about the direction, but honestly, I'm totally down to do something like that on a future stream. If I keep doing more of these like conceptual ones, and maybe I'll do that next week too, where I do more of like a conceptual one. But let's do like a creature or something, like a little gnome or something that is like really pushing variety, because like I could easily draw, like I said before, I could easily draw like pretty girl with fantasy head garb, and I mean I won't complain. This is very fun for me to do these type of illustrations, but I want to stay a little more challenged through 2022 with other types of media or subject matter. Sorry. Let's see here. Tommy, oh, hey Tommy, how you doing? What's the best way to get onto the vendor list for Anime Milwaukee? Each year we try and we never hear back on when the registration window starts versus other cons that seem to have better communication. Usually with cons, you sign up for their email list, but a lot of the times you just check their website a lot. I know when I was in the beginning stages of like doing cons, we would be checking websites for conventions like every day. Basically, we were on like a schedule, and there were like a few of them that we would just check every day until we got to the point like now where we kind of know when certain cons will announce their sign up dates. So yeah, starting off, it'll probably be a little tricky, to be completely honest. But I would try emailing. There's usually like an email associated with them, and be like, hey, and try not to be like super, like don't email them too much because that can be a bit annoying to them. So instead, just be like, hey, I'm just wondering if there's a email list I can sign up for to let me know when the signups are. I would love to do this show. I've heard great things. Pamper them up a little bit. Brown nosing works more than you might want to admit. I know for me, I've seen it. A lot of it's like who you know versus what you do. It seems to actually be the bigger thing, which is a strange realization to have, but it does seem to be true. Let's see here. I feel like I want to do more. I might turn my pencil and try to add value and then put the detail on after. Let's see here. While I'm doing that, Elena says, also, wow, I just got a new massive TV, and holy moly, the stream looks much better on it than my old computer. That's great. I don't think I've ever watched a stream on the like a big screen. I hope it's not too like blurry or pixely for you. I hope you can like see everything all right. I always get nervous with that with stream stuff like this. Kind of want to do like little caps on the corn. Capricorn. I like little fancy embellishments on this kind of stuff. Yeah, like that. I'm trying to think of like where I want to push some elements and design here. I mean, this is leaning a little bit into one of my old drawings called Demon's Facade. It's like that big, my biggest YouTube video on here is like me gold leafing a canvas of the Demon's Facade in the backyard. I gotta be careful because this is starting to look a little similar. That's why we just gotta change things up a little bit. Where was I? Elena says, also better TV means I can turn the sound way higher, so I don't need to ask the sound to be louder all the time. Is the audio okay for this stream? Like, are you guys noticing it's a little echoey or if it's a little staticky? Please let me know, and that way I can do my best to edit it before next week then. Nyango says, I love the Lord of the Rings books and trilogy so much to the point that I'm scared the new series might ruin it. I just like how the American Death Note totally ruined it. What do you think about the series? I never read the books, and I don't have as big of a connection with Lord of the Rings. I mean, I really loved watching Fellowship of the Ring. I watched all of them for the first time last year. It's like I'm a newcomer to the Lord of the Rings lore. So I'm excited for it, but I think it's because I have like a lower investment than a lot of people. I think if it was like a series that I grew up with and it like really meant something to me, I would definitely be nervous as well. I mean, that's a very fair, feeling to have, so I'm excited about it. But either way, the way that I always look at, like, even a good example is like Hocus Pocus. They're making the sequel and it'll be out this year. Or I just saw they finished filming and it'll be out in late October. Yeah, I'm very nervous about that because they could easily mess it up and try to do things that are too modern and do what's popular and just a lot of things that I'm not super into. But at the end of the day, you'll always have the originals. And just remember that for you, if you really like Lord of the Rings, no matter how the miniseries goes, you'll always have the movies, and if those are special to you, they'll still be special even after the miniseries. They don't lose their charm because something else was created. It's a hard feeling to have, though. I get it, because I'm very nervous for Hocus Pocus 2. Let's see, where was I? Ison says, what's your favorite part about drawing the face, and what was your favorite method of learning to draw heads? Thank you, I love your work. I love a good eye, for sure, like drawing one. But honestly, I kind of like the whole part of the face now. Like, I love drawing the nose, especially doing like the shadow underneath this area. But then I also really like drawing a mouth. So like, I think in my younger years, it was definitely more eyes only I really enjoyed, and the lips and the nose were like an afterthought. But the more that you draw faces, the more you draw people, you find joy in every part usually. So I guess for me, I like all three now. But if I had to pick one, it would still be the eyes. And then, sorry, what's my favorite method of learning to draw heads? I really like the method where you kind of start with a sphere, and whichever way they're looking, let's say they're looking this way, you kind of draw the jawline and then connect that center line down. And that way, whichever way the head is looking, like let's say they're like leaning back for whatever reason. I definitely keep it more skeletal not skeletal, like a stick figure kind of. There's a method I learned in college where you can really see shapes and forms, and I feel like I've just kind of carried that into my adult life. And now, like a leg, let's say if it was like pointed and the other leg was like standing, I'll still use like stick figure methods like this, but then I'll try to make sense of the anatomy and make sure proportionally it would fit. So like I can tell this leg should probably be a little longer, so then when I go down here, I'll just edit that, So the way that I draw the head is similar to the way I draw the rest of the body, where I keep it very, very light, very simple. But then actually, I should note, when I draw the head, I almost always draw the eye cavity or the area under the brow. I'll kind of darken it, and then I'll darken the area under the nose, because then this will kind of give me a clear idea of the landmarks of the face. So then I can kind of work, and I know, okay, the ear is usually at the bottom of the nose, so I'll just carry that over. And then usually the top of the eyebrow is the top of the nose or the ear, so I can carry that over. And then there's usually a good cheekbone that is fun to kind of sharpen up. And the hairline, because usually this can be split into 3 sections, so 1, 2, 3. So I know those are usually equal parts in their size, and then you kind of go from there. But a lot of it you learn just from drawing heads a lot and just drawing characters a lot. So my best advice to you would be try drawing them quickly and draw a lot of them. And then over time, I think you'll find you have your own method of doing it. Because I think if you try to follow someone else's method too closely, it might not give you the satisfaction of drawing it. Oops. Aerith just fell on my keyboard there. That you might be looking for. Okay, where was I? Sorry about that. Libagod says, nice drawing. I'm a new viewer. Hey, well, welcome. I hope you enjoy this type of a live stream. I was talking earlier about I want to do more of these, so if you want to come join next week, we do these every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Time. And normally I have my mod with me, who is also my boyfriend. He's in the other room working, finishing up some stuff as well. And then I really like doing these type of conceptual ones. So, yeah. Expect to see more of these in the future. I thought I had kind of a set agenda for 2022 of what direction I wanted to go, but I think this is the new direction. And it's kind of nice because I think even with YouTube, I mean, with a lot of things in my art, but especially when you're doing like new platforms, whether it's trying to do it on YouTube or make Reels or TikTok or whatever it might be open to changing things up to what your original plan may have been. Because maybe your original plan was to do a reel every other day, But if you're really finding that you do better spending a lot of time doing one reel a week, but like really editing it nice, adding good text, having transitions, like however it might be, maybe doing one every other day is just way too taxing mentally. But you might find that if that was your goal, it's okay to let that goal go if that goal is holding you back, essentially. I don't know why, but I kind of like the idea of like these stringy areas coming off of the sphere. I might keep that. I don't know why, I kind of like that. Let's see here. So we got about 10 minutes left. So if you have any more questions you want to ask, feel free to ask now, and I will do my best to answer as many as I can before we run out of time here. And they don't have to be particular to what I'm working on either. So if you're new to the stream, I'll answer any art question that you might have to the best of my ability. I mean, I don't have all the answers, obviously, but I do try my best to answer them. Let's see. Jen says, have you designed any monsters a la Silent Hill's Resident Evil inspired for your story? Not for my personal story, but I've definitely done horror art before. I think when you do fantasy, I think sometimes it can bleed into like horror type art very easily because, thank you, Jadeka, for subscribing. Because when you do like witches and warlocks and things, like they can easily have a darker side, and even like necromancy, which could fit both genres very easily, like fantasy and horror. I think they definitely can bleed into one another. So yeah, I definitely would like to take a stab with like a movie someday. Even though I don't think I want to do anything with film currently, like at where I'm at right now. I really enjoy what I'm doing, but eventually I would love to be a concept artist on some kind of a project, whether it's a TV show or a film. But I feel like it might lend itself to more of like horror, because I think that's where I could really showcase a lot of that horror side of my work. I mean, I would love to work on a fantasy project, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there aren't as many fantasy projects as there are horror ones, because horror they can produce and make on a much smaller budget than with fantasy. And I feel like there's a bigger return right now on horror as well. But I would love to work on a fantasy project of some kind. I don't know what that would look like, but I really love classic old school fantasy. So that would be really fun to work on. I don't know if I like the little, I don't know if I'm digging that. I kind of like it on this side, like the edging of it, but I don't think doing like the bigger ones in the middle are adding anything to the piece really. Well, thank you, Davari, or Druvi. You might have to help me with the name pronunciation. Elena says, oh no, it was blurry as all things on my computer, and that's the shock. It's actually really sharp and detailed. Oh, well, that's great. One of the first streams I ever watched you do was drawing the Demon's Facade, so it was always a soft spot for me. And don't worry about the sound. It's just me who had not great hearing. Yeah, the Demon's Facade is such an old one, but it's still one of my best sellers when I go to shows. So it kind of goes to show you, like, sometimes pieces that are like simple studies can become like some of your best pieces, or best received pieces. It doesn't mean it's the best in your opinion, but I know with Demon's Facade, like I like it, but I've definitely done pieces since then that I'm way more proud of. But yeah, Demon's Facade still sits with people well, so I'm not gonna pull it off my shelves at cons until it really is just not performing well. And until then, and since I still enjoy it as a piece, I'm gonna keep it on my table. Yeah, I think I'm gonna render out the other eye before the end of the stream too, so it kind of gives off a finished edging to it. higher eyebrow. No, I think it is more wider. There. Let's see here. Oscar says, any tips for drawing characters consistently? Try to create. I remember I even made a board for when I was drawing my swordplay characters. Create little tips for yourself on how to differentiate characters. Like for my character Chase, I remember when I draw his hair, he has 2 swoops heading a certain direction as kind of the landmark for his hair. Oops, let me move down. And then he kind of has a curl on one side, but then on the other side, it's usually like 2 curls kind of coming off the head. So I know when I draw Chase, these very simple under foundational parts of him will remain consistent. Or like for, what was another character that I had? For Grizzy, she's this older, my older character, and she's like this piratey type character. Think like the grandma from Castle in the Sky, the very like, the powerful muscle one. When I draw Granny, I know that she has a little bump on the top, and then she kind of has this little fro going behind her, and then she has a band that goes behind her ear. So when I draw her, those will be my 3 first shapes that I draw for them. So I think if you can break your character down into really simple, recreatable forms and shapes, I think that's a great place to start creating characters that you're going to be redrawing over and over and over again. At least that helped me. I'm sure there might be better tips from like comic artists out there. So I would definitely even reach out to them or see if they have a YouTube or something, because they're redrawing the same thing or the same character a lot, far more than I have ever done. So they probably would be able to share tips on that. But I know that helps me even with like the short little ones that I've done so far. Let's see here. Tommy, any updates on swordplay? Yes. So swordplay I am putting on hold for basically 3 years, because in 3 years I should be financially stable to the point where I could take an entire year and a half off, and I'm saving a lot of money to do this and just be able to work on swordplay. So like writing it, illustrating it, and not having to worry so much about me and Josh's like paying rent money or the utilities. So I really want to create a backlog for it and not have to be drawing like constantly and doing shipping and a bunch of other things and going to cons like crazy. So swordplay is still happening, but I'm trying to keep it more on the DL for a little while, especially while I'm still doing things like the tarot deck and these projects that have a little longer end times to them. But I'm very excited about it. I've been writing kind of secretly a few chapters here and there, so I don't want to say too much, but it is still happening. So thank you for remembering, though. The Ruined Wonderland says, has anyone ever gotten a tattoo of your work? Many people have gotten my work tattooed on them. And I have a folder on Instagram that I just save all of them, because usually they'll tag me. And some of them are okay. I don't think my work is the best for tattooing because it's a lot of gradations. So a lot of my work when it gets tattooed looks choppy, or it looks like it was stippled, but it doesn't really carry the gradient well. And every now and then I'll find one that someone got and it is like pretty amazing. I'm like, okay, this tattoo artist knows what they're doing. And then other times I'm so sad that they have this tattooed on their body, because I feel like I was the problem. I inspired them to want this on their body, and now they can never get it off. And I just don't think it looks good, because the lines will be like too light. And one of my best friends was a tattoo artist for so long. He would always talk to me about how tattoos fade very quickly over time if you do it too light. And I think most of the ones I've seen of my work that have been like the lighter ones, I don't think they're going to be there in a few years. So definitely something to consider if you guys are ever planning on getting tattoos, and specifically like people's art. Look for a tattoo artist that can do what you're looking for. Because if a tattoo artist specializes in heavy line art, then mine might not be the best work because it's so gradation heavy. You know what I mean? So it's still cool though. I think it's still cool that like someone would want to get something that I've drawn tattooed on their body forever until they die. Yeah, this was fun. What do I have? Oh, like 5 minutes? Okay. I'm going to finish this off with some big blocking out of value and then just see where it ends. Let's see here. What were the last questions we have? Connor says, do you have any advice for finding the sweet spot between maximizing creative output without sacrificing art quality? Oh, that is such a good question. I think a lot of it comes down to you having fun with it. I feel like when I'm having the least amount of fun is when both my creative output and my art quality go down. So like right now I'm having a lot of fun. I think it's adding to this piece evolving in a way that I like. Where if I was forcing it, I don't think I would like the evolution as much. Or if I feel like I'm drawing just to, as me and my friends call it, play the game, where you're either playing the social media game of trying to get likes and reshares and comments and whatever, or you're playing the convention game, which you're creating pieces that you know people will like a fox piece or a print, or a lot of people are into like girls with like long hair and flowing flowers all around them. For some reason, like foxes and flowing hair girls with flowers do really well. And I think sometimes in the past, I've caught myself where I did a fox piece specifically to quote unquote play the game. And it worked, and I actually had a lot of fun drawing the fox, which was surprising. But I learned that I just don't want to be that type of artist ever again. So I really haven't done a piece like that since. And I think a lot of it comes down to you authentically knowing, are you doing this piece because you want to actually do it, or are you doing it because you think it'll be well received? And I think that's a tough question sometimes for artists to ask themselves, because we don't want to see ourselves in like an artificial light. And it usually happens to every artist. I can't think of an artist that it hasn't happened to before that I've talked with. So yeah, just try to stay true to what you enjoy drawing, and know that even if it's more of a niche, that niche will respond to you if you keep at it and you keep pushing. And I truly believe that art, people can read if you're passionate about what you're doing or not. Or if it's something where it feels like an artist is just producing something because they have a quota that they need to hit for the week. And I'm not going to name names, but there are definitely some bigger name artists where when I look at their work, I don't necessarily see them as artists as much as I do see them as keeping a schedule for entertainment purposes. And I respect them a lot, because it's something that I don't think I could do it. And it's a hard thing to do. So I give them a lot of credit on that end. But in terms of like artistry, it's hard not to want to just also do what's easy and what will sell versus what you truly want to do. But I think if you try doing the things that you don't actually want to do for too long, it will bite you hard. And I've never met an artist that has felt satisfied going in a direction that they don't feel attuned with, you know. Let's see here. I can't pronounce your name because I don't know Russian, but it says, hello, maybe you could help me out some simplification of legs, like some kind of starting point or gesture. I guess the one thing I could say is, let me zoom in. When I do my legs, when I do my characters, I still do kind of the stick figure positioning, where I know that like this is going to be the length of their upper leg, and this length is usually similar to the spine. And then when I go ahead and draw this all out, so I'm like, this will be, the hand usually comes, like the tip of the finger is like halfway down the thigh. And like these are things you just learn in life drawing usually. So now once I have my stick figure in place, I can usually fill in the pieces. So for legs, for instance, I usually do a more of a curved cylindrical type leg like this. depending on, sometimes I'll make them thinner or thicker depending on what type of character or who they are. But then their knee, I'll usually give a separate little joint and bump to. And then their calf muscle, I'll really focus on. And then it comes usually a little forward. So that's kind of my simple way of how I do legs. Like if this was like a beefy male character, let's say. A lot of it is just like filling then the skin, the muscle on top of this bony understructure that we've created. Almost looks like he's like a figure skater, like a dancer or something. And then you can build the rest of the forms up, and then if you want to start adding accessories, or like if he had like a sword that was, you know, behind him, it's very easy to build up character shapes like that. So I actually love doing simple character shape structures like that. I don't do them as much as I used to, but just to like get a good read on like who this character is, how they're positioned, or not how they're positioned, but how the clothes would lay on them. I did that a lot when I was designing my swordplay characters and figuring out what I think works for them, what I think doesn't. Does it match the world that they live in? I think there's a lot of things to think about when you do that kind of stuff. Okay, I think we're getting close to calling it quits. This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun watching, because this has been kind of amazing. I feel like this is what I've been needing the past couple months, and I think just going into the stream today after we've been hosting 15 people and being like, well, whatever I create, and we'll just see what when people suggest and go from there. This has been wonderful. Thank you guys so much for coming today. This was amazing. I'll answer 3 more questions here. Nyango says, please make more illustrations and stories like the dancing rabbits and dirt kids, if I'm saying it correct now, and those wooden friends. And you said you're going to make stories in 2022. Yes. I think I have to finish this Murdoch first. And I think a lot of the stories that I'm doing for my 5-foot drawing upstairs, my mermaid illustration, or the Aquatica Nautica as I'm calling it, they're going to be like little short stories that will be collected in a book for that. And even with like the Murdoch, I'm trying to create a story for each of the mer people. But then even like this drawing that I'm working on, I'm doing a lot of the frustration of feeling like in his world, he's like a magic user. Magic with a K at the end. And he's struggling because a lot of the other sorcerers in his class or whatever, I'm still trying to figure out if I want him to be like a part of an academy of some sort, or if he's like a traveling wandering sorcerer and then he comes across this town where like literally everyone's a better sorcerer than he is, and he's just frustrated. And I feel like myself, I feel that way in the artistry world right now. I'm just like frustrated because I'm not figuring out the modern adaptation to how to get my work seen without sacrificing what I want to do. So like still being able to do these fantastical, crazy characters, but like the new standard for Instagram is like a reel every day, and I don't think I myself can fit that into what I want to do. But that's where the story behind like something like this is. But I think if you're looking for more of like my literal story stuff, I do definitely want to do more of that as well. It's all about timing right now and figuring out where things lie, especially with cons coming back. But I will do more stories, so don't you worry about that. Let's see, bro, you are God. Well, thank you, but definitely not. I just like drawing and have a lot of patience. Oscar says, final thing, more horror. Yes, please. Would love to see your style with horror theme. I feel like you could push it even beyond your previous pieces that have nudged on the theme. Yeah, I feel like I tend to tiptoe around like macabre rather than it being horror, but it's something that I definitely think I could do it would be comfortable because it's so organic, and especially with like misshapen bodies and zombie type creatures, I think I would have a lot of fun working up the texture and building that up. Okay, I think we are good. Carlos says, my friend has one of your designs tattooed, but it doesn't look good. Yeah, I think getting pencil art tattooed, unless if you find a really good tattoo artist with gradations, I think it just looks too light or too stippled, or they have to like darken the outlines really heavily. And sometimes that doesn't always work for my art because it's so light lined in a lot of ways. Okay, I think I'm going to cut it off there. So here is where this piece ended off. This has been a lot of fun. Let me zoom in for you guys. Still have no idea what she's holding. It could be a sword. I got to fix her eye a bit too. I'll probably post a draft of this on Instagram. Maybe not post, but I'll do like a story about it, and I'll post it on the Discord for sure. So once again, I'm vonnart. We do these live streams every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Time, and I will be here again next week. We'll be bringing Josh back as the mod, and we'll definitely do another concepting stream. This was a lot of fun to do with you guys today. And if you want to continue following me, I have my Instagram. I'm on Twitter, everywhere. It's on vonnart. But on Patreon, I post every day what I'm doing behind the scenes when it's one of my work days. So I'm working on a mermaid deck. I'm working on my 5-foot Aquatica Nautica, and I'm doing a tarot deck. So I post pretty much every work day on the progress on that and kind of share the insights behind the scenes. And then here on YouTube, I have way more videos you can watch. And I think that's all I'm going to promote. Oh, and then I have a shop. So if you want to buy my previous card deck, I have 4 art books out. I have a lot of prints, pins, stuff like that. You can go check that out now. But otherwise, I will see you next Wednesday if you want to come join again. And I really enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much. I loved the questions, loved what we did. And I hope you guys had a nice little work session alongside me. And if you want to post what you were working on in the Discord as well, that would be great. I always love seeing what people are working on while I'm working on this. So thank you guys so much again. And until next week, hopefully we'll see you then. Okay, take care. Bye, 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 bye.